Hey folks, BrickSidious here, back with another LEGO Star Wars video. We'll be comparing different versions of Playscale Republic gunships. We'll start with the oldest one here, 7163 from 2002. It retailed for $90 and had about 700 pieces. So this was the first LEGO Star Wars gunship. You can tell, yeah, pretty primitive in some ways. Low piece count because it was using a lot of large pieces, had less detail. But, this came with really good minifigures. The clones, of course, Jedi Bob and two pearl blue super battle droids that are quite valuable now. Yeah, unique to this set, of course. But, given the complex design shape of this vehicle, LEGO did really well for the time. I mean, 2002, right? Getting these half circle, like gun shields, gun pods, the ball joint, with like the angular laser weapons, and this angled cockpit area, and of course having an interior to store clones. I think also, I'm not quite sure the mechanism to make it work, but you can see there's some joints in here, and there's a gap at the front of the fuselage. I believe this opens up, and then there's an escape pod under the cockpit that comes out. But I don't want to break it now. I've never gotten it to work successfully. And then in the back, I believe it has, these doors move. And, overall, a really good first attempt at the gunship. Then later on, you have a more sophisticated one, 7676 from 2008, sold for about $120 retail at the time, and 1,000 pieces. So it's missing the gun batteries on the side here, but you get like a back to tank. You get, it's hard to see here, yeah, you get this like command pod that comes out, and then in the cargo area, instead of an empty space like the other gunship, you get a Endor style speeder. So this design had some improvements over the other one. Filled some gaps. Have flick missiles on the top here. The angled cockpit still, yeah, that was a really good design solution from LEGO, so they carried it over. And more stickers, kind of like these like World War II fighter planes with some, deprecating the enemy or kind of things to increase morale. This, unfortunately, I think this is a knockoff sticker I got to replace, but it's starting to peel. Not great. Yeah, but this one's a real fan favorite, and it comes with a good set of figures too, like Ventress, Obi-Wan, I think some sort of clone commander maybe. And then you have this one, which is more recent. You probably recognize the Coruscant Guard gunship, 75354 from 2023, selling for $140 and 183 pieces. So, I mean, the trend with modern LEGO is, downscaled versus the previous versions, but a lot more sturdy. I was talking to another LEGO fan on Facebook that he knows some LEGO designers, and they're like, oh, we're obligated to reinforce the designs now to certain ways, I guess, to make them more sturdy for play or whatnot, and that really ties their hands. And then because of that, they can't make the sets as big as they used to, or they would just need a lot more reinforcement, and the piece count, the price would go up like crazy. So I mostly got this because it was on sale. I think LEGO Insiders had a sale a few weeks ago, and the clone troopers are really cool. It comes also with, like, here, let me open, the typical side doors that open up, like some sort of clone leader here, and Palpatine, Padme, and there's like another hatch that opens here, but I believe it's empty. Yeah, I'm not sure the purpose is there, maybe to put in more clones or something. Here you get stud shooters on the wings instead of those half-circle domes. The main cannons on the top look a little dinkier, you know, of course. And then I'll put this side by side with the other ships so you can really see the size comparison. And then in the back, yeah, I mean, of course, the design's gotten better over time, that, you know, having fewer panel gaps and things like I mentioned. Of course, it's a lot sturdier. If you dropped both of these, you know which one would take more damage. But here, look at the size difference now. I mean, so putting them next to each other, yeah, you probably the 7676 is like 3 inches longer, and then if you include the gun, yeah, I guess maybe tip of the guns to tip of the guns, yeah, 3 inches maybe. And then the height, so even though this has 80 more pieces or whatnot, and then the height, maybe an inch smaller. But if volume, if you were to put this in like a water bath or something, the volume would be quite different, and any kid could tell. So yeah, maybe this up until like age 8, they wouldn't, they all look cool and impressive and awesome in the hands. But if you have like a middle schooler or something, like, I'm sure if you compare the two sets, they would prefer the larger one. But that's the reality we have now for Lego Star Wars fans. I don't think it's going to change. And then here, lastly, to wrap up the video, I have an interesting treat for you. This is a store display for the first gunship 7163 from 2002. I saw it. A neighbor was having it for sale. It was taking up space, and their kid actually wanted like a drum set in the room instead of this thing sitting there. So I bought it for them, maybe, I want to say around $250, $300 maybe. I mean, it's really hard to price these things because there's so few out there. One, I wanted to double check, is this some sort of fan-made thing or is this official? And if you look for like 7163 store display on Google, you see other people's photos with this exact setup. So I believe this really was in Lego stores. There's no documentation about it, but it depicts like the Geonosian arena from episode 2, and a battle here with Jedi Bob and the others. But I think the person who set this up did not place the figures correctly. So the clones are supposed to be behind Jedi Bob. The Republic is attacking from the left, and then the Separatists are on the right. So imagine the blue super battle droids over here with the droideka, and then they're facing off, and then the gunship is kind of coming in low, probably to strafe the enemy or something. A little bit of sun damage on this guy, and of course, yeah, you see the stickers are in bad shape, or almost 20 years old. So I think this glass shell can be opened to move things around. I'm sure some of this stuff is like glued in, but with 20-year-old plastic and stuff, like I've been scared to try to open it up, and so I'll just kind of leave it as is. I mean, the thing is huge. It's probably like almost the size of one of those like carry-on suitcases. Sorry, bigger than a carry-on suitcase. Remember, almost like a checked luggage that you'd use for flights. So it just sits in my garage gathering dust. But I've had some, I've put it on sale online and gotten some interest, but folks from like Canada or something, and there's no way I'm shipping this thing. So they're only like, oh yeah, if I ever do a road trip down to see you, but who knows? Yeah. For now, it'll just be a kind of a unique little addition to my collection. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I will see you next time, and may the Force be with you.